Hi, I just finished watching Horse Girl and it was pretty good. Uh I guess that's how I start every single video, I swear. Since I like most movies. But what I liked about this movie is that since it feels really unique. Like it's a hodgepodge of a ton of different genres. It's Now I'm gonna start spoiler free, and then I'm gonna go into spoilers and my interpretation on all that because it's that kind of movie. Like it kind of feels like a similar vein to Birdman, like that sort of psychological thriller type deal. But like it's so perplexing that I kind of feel like I need to rewatch it before I can fully formulate my opinion on it. But as it stands, I think I'd give it like an 8.25 out of 10. It was really good. The writer director isn't used to doing like psychological thrillers, so this was a really good first start, though he is used to doing like awkward comedies like this, but each awkward comedy that he does is like different. Like I've seen all of his previous movies and I love them. Life After Meth is my favorite one, but he's also done I Heart Huckabees, The Little Hours, Joshy, and all of them are extremely good. But this one is one of the more fascinating ones just because of where it goes plot wise, and it's so unpredictable. And then it was also a team up of him writing, directing, and then the actor also writing. The main actress, Alison Brie, she also worked on BoJack Horseman, which is an amazing show, even though she's like the weakest link in the show. But she's actually pretty good here. She plays a very likable character and gives a very likable performance. So I know it's not her fault that her character was like not as well written in BoJack, but like, because she is very charismatic here and the whole movie is charming as heck. But the whole movie is just kind of a WTF movie, Horse Girl. So if you're looking for like something different, this is absolutely the way to go because it's like jaw-droppingly surreal. Sadly, there's no literal horse people like in some other movie that came out last year that I really want to talk about, but I can't tell you because then it would ruin the shock value. Hint, hint, it has Lakeith Stanford in it. That's all I can tell you. Just go through that entire actor's catalog and you'll eventually find it. But this one was still really good, even though disappointingly it never went quite to the lobster route where it's like literal horse people or like Tusk, kind of like that, which is very disappointing. But there's still so many things going on that just watching the trailer, you're like, this movie's gonna be overstuffed and overwhelming. But surprisingly, they make all of the elements gel in a plot that feels natural. Like the movie deals with like, well, I guess I shouldn't really say the plot points or what it deals with. I'll save that for the spoiler reveal review. Um the performances are all really good. I think it balanced both the psychological thriller art house vibes and the awkward comedy really well. I laughed a lot, especially in like the first half, even though the jokes slowly became less and less frequent as it went on and it started to become more and more of like a weird thriller. But like I was totally on board with that transformation of the film because that's kind of what I wanted anyways. I wish it got more bizarre and like I wish that it went full blown weird. Like that would have been even cooler. Like I wanted to see some messed up crap that like really disturbed me. And while there was like some of that, I feel like they could have pushed the envelope way further. Like what if it got more violent or something like that, or like way crazier, just full on bonkers removal from reality or anything closely resembling it. Because when I saw the thumbnail where it's just her disembodied head on a piece of yarn, and it had the label mind bending, I was like, okay, give me that, make that the whole movie, just weird stuff like that. That's what I wanted. And while it's not quite up to that level, it's still like an absolutely must watch because it's like one of the best Netflix original films, which it's not a very high bar to pass for Netflix original films, but it's one of their best ones because, and I do have like kind of a bias for this director because I seem to like him way more than everyone else seems to. But this is one of the ones that is actually pretty well reviewed. Like right now, it's fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. So there you go. There's your recommendation that you have to see it because it's free with Netflix. So you better go on and do that now and watch it. I feel like I have to rewatch it, especially now that I know how many interpretations you can make from it, because it's very ambiguous, which is another good thing about it. And I liked all the little twists and turns and just how intellectually, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? The constant twists and turns felt like it was intellectually stimulating. Like the I was constantly thinking and like trying to piece this together. I like that the director called it like a puzzle cuz that's how it feels. You're like constantly like what is going on? And your brain is like working at maximum effort and speed to like try and figure this out cuz there's so much being thrown at the wall here, like lots of weird sci-fi stuff, and you're like, I don't know what's happening, and you're just trying to figure it out, and you're constantly putting all these pieces together, and then the movie would just dump the puzzle box back over on you, and you're just like, okay, now I have to start again because this is a lot of new evidence, and it just did a 180 on me, and now I have to reassemble, so I guess I have to do that now. And it just did all these super bizarre things. There's really clever foreshadowing in the movie, so hats off to that. The visuals were also fantastic. The movie opens with this really cool shot where the sky turns into a shirt and you don't even realize it. So then when the sky gets cut in half because it's a shirt, you're like super like jumpy about it because you're not expecting it because you think it's the sky. So it's really like trippy like that immediately, which I was totally on board with and vibing with. I still think it's like a bad title for a movie, Horse Girl, especially since there wasn't a horse person. I get it, that's supposed to be she's a girl that has or had a horse and likes horses. But like, I don't think you're gonna get many butts and seats with a title like that, even though it's free on Netflix. I think like naming it after the television show within the movie would have been better. Like it was called, what was the TV show called? Uh Not Paradox, but the Purgatory. Yeah, I was gonna say the place where it's like the waiting room between heaven and hell. Purgatory, because like that kind of makes sense with the whole anything goes nature of it, and it's like this doesn't really feel like reality, and it just kind of feels like, wait, is she dead though? Because it feels like everything's so bizarre that you wouldn't have doubted her being dead the whole time. It just kind of had that vibe to it, and then having the show in it be Purgatory. And then I'll delve more into titling it Purgatory in my spoiler review. But speaking of Purgatory, the show within the movie was one of the funniest parts of the movie. Like, I loved that part so much. It was so campy and cheesy and hilarious. It was so good. It's like a parody of X-Files, but like a really stupid police procedural with like supernatural elements to it. And it had the brother from Life After Beth as like one of the cops, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, it's the mark of Hades. We have to kill the clones." It's so funny. Oh, it's great. But yeah, it's really funny. You should watch it. It's great. I'd say give it a shot. It's not the longest movie since it's like Netflix original, but yeah, give it a go if you want something original and fun. Cause yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'd recommend it. So yeah, for now I'll give it an 8.8 8 point something, either 8 or 8.25. Let's just go with that. Anything else I want to address? I know the soundtrack was good. The editing was good. All the cast was great. There's a surprising amount of celebrities in the movie, like Molly Shannon, Paul Reiser, a lot of returning people from the director's previous movies. Uh, I did just love the movie. It was great. It's the director's whole catalog is great. You should just check out all of his movies if you hadn't already. He's like one of the most underrated directors working right now. I swear, I'm so mad that people hadn't heard of him. But hey, this is a good place to start because like his stuff is free. Like all of his movies are on Netflix, I think. And then like Joshi, which may not be on Netflix, is like free with Hulu. So like, you literally have like no excuse to not check him out. Okay, so yeah, I think I'll go into my spoiler review now for Horse Girl, or should I call her a Morse Girl? All right, so if you've not seen Horse Girl, you might want to stop now and then come back later. So, spoiler time and my interpretation time. So, there's a lot of things that I'm still trying to figure out about the movie. Now, I watched it with subtitles on, so at the very end of the movie, when she got abducted by aliens, the subtitles said the mark of Hades. So I'm wondering, since that popped up during the UFO scene, and there was a little symbol in the sky that I thought was the UFO, does that mean that the aliens were actually demons, like from Hades, like the spawn of hell? Like, is that what I'm supposed to be gathering from that? Was that symbol in the sky the mark of Hades? So did she accidentally get abducted by, like, Satan? Is that what happened there? Because I really wouldn't have caught that unless the subtitles just glitched out on me. So now that's, like, starting to become, like, my interpretation, but I really don't want it to be. Otherwise, if that was just a glitch in the Netflix algorithm, which it very much could have been, I wouldn't have doubted that being a glitch. Because when I read up on it later, because I was like, I really don't know if that was on purpose or not. And then I read up on what the director said, and he was like, yeah, the ending's supposed to be ambiguous, there's supposed to be multiple interpretations. So it's like, okay, so then the subtitles at the end were on accident, right? Because they're like, okay, so it's supposed to be like her time traveling back to the 50s, apparently. And I did not get that vibe at all, or being abducted by aliens. That's the one I thought was. The way that she did, like, that one image that I did on Photoshop, if you watched, like, my slideshow preview, where it's like I'm being lifted up into the air, it kind of looks like that. Yeah. Also, why'd she take off her slippers right before she went up? I don't get that. I was still trying to figure out, like, is she crazy? Is she a clone? Is she getting abducted by aliens? And then when she was checking out the bruises on her, I thought she was turning into a horse. And then there was this one split second where when Molly Shannon looked out to see uh, where the main character was, she wasn't there. It was just her horse. So I'm wondering, is, like, she like a ghost that's like wandering through the world like Patrick Swayze, just like using her forces on the world? Or is she the horse and that's why it's Horse Girl the whole time? Or am I overthinking this because it was just like a shot that they did wrong? Or am I really overthinking this and Molly Shannon just barely misseen her because she was in front of the horse or sign? I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking too much about a shot in the movie. There's that. I think she was having like psychological breaks because so I was on board with her and her like breakdown from reality. And I was like, oh yeah, these are just really fun conspiracy theories. I was totally like, okay. So I don't know if I was exactly with her on this, but I was more so with like her love interest, where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm totally with you, main character. Yeah, I'm totally with you. It's fun to think about conspiracy theories. But then when she takes it so seriously that it literally drives her insane, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess you are kind of crazy. I'm a back off now. And then she's like, how dare you betray me? And I'm like, he's not betraying you. You're just kind of crazy. And he thought that you were just being like, bullcrapping. Like, oh yeah, yeah, aliens. Yeah, that's fun. Fun, just small talk. So like yeah, I also like how clearly the characterization of the movie was. Like there were scenes with so little dialogue and yet you can really get so many conflicting vibes of the characters that you're supposed to be getting. Like for example, a character that like wants to do something but like doesn't want to go against the flow of the conversation. So like he passive aggressively mentions sign briefly, but then like shuts up about the conversation for like the rest of the conversation and just kind of goes noddingly like, yeah, okay, cool. Like I like how clear the characterization is even for like the characters that are barely in it. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, the crazy shenanigans were pretty dope though. And then like the whole part where it's like, so wait, she was abducted by aliens because there were other people that like had the same experiences as her. And then she was trapped in a time loop, but she's not a clone of her grandmother because she is her grandmother because she's stuck in like a time loop thing that'll just keep going and going and going. So my question is, does that mean since she's an untrustworthy narrator that when she laid down in the leaves, she was actually dying in the middle of the street because of the time loop? Like she said her grandmother did earlier in the film. Instead of getting abducted by aliens, which was her perspective, or getting sent back to the 50s, like some people thought. And that's just kind of what happened. So I'm guessing that's like my interpretation of the story is that she's like crazy and everyone's like, girl, you crazy. And then she basically does the self fulfilling prophecy, like mentioned in the TV show. And then even the Mark of Hades is from the TV show, which is enough to mention, which is why Purgatory comes back. And then she just fulfills like repeating the past by doing exactly what her grandmother did, even putting on her old timey clothes and finishing her old timey look, and then just doing exactly what she did, which was become homeless and die in the street without realizing it. Because to her, this is some glorious moment, and really it's just a tragic story about mental illness, kind of like Joker, only if the main character didn't become unlikable in the third act when he or she, murders their parents, because this main character, she doesn't really have any parents to murder, so she just kind of remains likable. So yeah, I really liked it. I don't know about you guys, but I think like it's very interesting how much I went back and forth on like, no, she's crazy. No, this conspiracy theory is just happening in this universe because movies. No, she's crazy because it's supposed to be realistic. No, this is happening because like it's more fun to watch if it's happening. No, she's crazy because that would make way more sense. No, it's actually probably happening. Maybe I just don't know anymore. So yeah, that's my review. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.